So now let me turn to our guest speaker today, Nikki Okrah, a Weinberg College graduate of the class of 2011 and an entrepreneur innovating at the intersection of food, agriculture, and technology. She is founder and CEO of Chaku Foods. Based in her home country of Ghana, she is building an AI/ML-based platform that maps African farmers' land and predicts crop yields in order to efficiently collect crops post-harvest. This alleviates poverty and mitigates against climate change while building resilient global food supply chains. Prior to founding Chaku, she worked on solving global payment challenges at Visa as a product, merchant, business development, and strategy roles, working across US, Africa, Middle East, and Central Europe. Her experiences gave her inspiration and critical skills needed to leverage technology to solve pressing problems facing small shareholder farmers back home in Ghana. Her work was initially doubling the incomes of farmers who lived 2 hours away from her childhood home in Kumasi, Ghana, through sourcing of plantain, which was used as an input for an exported snack product. Through the development of Chaku Tech, she intends to scale the economic impact across millions of shareholder farms across and throughout Africa. I'm so grateful to Nikki for accepting our invitation to speak with you today. Nikki, Weinberg College and Northwestern are so proud of you. So welcome back, and please give a rousing wildcat welcome to Nikki Okrah, class of 2011.
Thank you, Dean Randolph, for the introduction and the invitation to address this year's Weinberg class of 2024 at today's convocation. Because this is a celebration, I'd like to begin with a song. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Congratulations, class of 2024, your family, friends, and supporters too. Congratulations to you. And many more milestones too. So no, I didn't get into the Benin School of Music, and I'm sure you can all see why. They've lost a huge talent. But that's okay, because I'm so proud to have a home here in Weinberg. But I, Nikki Lily Omani Okrah, was both honored yet surprised at this invitation, because I'm often told that my path is quite unconventional. People wonder, how does a Northwestern grad who goes on to work at Visa Inc. and graduates from Harvard Business School end up working with small shareholder farmers in Ghana, West Africa? And well, the simple answer is that I followed my childhood dream, a dream of moving back home to Ghana, a dream that was made possible during my time at Northwestern, and specifically with the Weinberg undergraduate research grant. It was an experience that opened up my thinking as to how I can make an impact back home, potentially across the African continent, and more broadly, across the world. The title of my speech is called Follow Your Dreams to Find Your Purpose. The topic of dreams feels appropriate because the better part of the last 4 years has often felt like a nightmare, starring the 3 Cs. First, the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted and took many lives. Secondly, there are conflicts all around the world, from Sudan, Haiti, Ukraine, and Gaza, and other places as well. And lastly, there have been climate-linked catastrophes that have led to extreme earthquakes, flooding, and even rising temperatures back home in Ghana, where I live and work and experience quite regularly. Weinberg's 47 different majors and 55 minors gives me a lot of confidence that the solutions to a lot of these global challenges can be found with everyone sitting in this room here today if you choose to pursue your purpose. Your purpose is found by following your dreams, and the guide to your dream is your inner voice. I will share how my childhood, Northwestern, and also different lessons around friendship and priorities have influenced my path to building Chaku Foods, a company that is maximizing profits for small shareholder farmers while minimizing climate risk. To begin, I grew up a very happy kid in Kumasi, Ghana, playing with my cousins and my siblings until that all changed when our family moved to Worcester, Massachusetts in the United States. As the months passed, I got homesick. So one day, I decided I would simply pack my backpack and stay at my Auntie Na's house in Ghana. Because it was the mid-90s, technology was very different. So there wasn't a direct way to communicate with her. I'd have to get an international calling card, and I actually had no idea how to get to Ghana because MapQuest hadn't even been out yet. And you can ask your parents what MapQuest is if you don't know what that is. I realized it would be nearly impossible as a kid to get back home to Ghana. So I figured I would adapt to my new home in Massachusetts until I was old enough to do so. College at Northwestern presented the perfect opportunity to grow and find myself. With its strong academic reputation and hundreds of student groups, I had so many resources to create a path that was fit for me. Yet I found myself struggling while I was pursuing economics, the most popular Weinberg major at the time, along with internship recruiting in investment banking and finance. These were paths that were not aligned to me. I later realized that both my major and internship path were heavily influenced by what I call the 4 Ps: parents, peers, professionals, and even some professors. It was during my junior year at Northwestern that I learned that my most important life lesson: I needed to find my own voice. That means my internal voice should always be louder than the external voices and influences that surround me. It was thousands of miles away from those external influences during my study abroad in Madrid, Spain, that I truly began to find my own voice. At the time, Instagram and TikTok had not been invented. Even WhatsApp was not widely available. Now, I know what you're thinking. She looks so young, and no, I'm not a student. Even though several people have asked my mom the last few days in Evanston, when is your daughter graduating? This year, next year? And I'm actually speaking today. Because the world has changed, you have to be intentional about finding time and space to shut off social media and other distractions and external influences. Oh my gosh, I sound like my mom a little bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to say it that way, just you need to be intentional about shutting off social media and external influences. I think that's better. So you can process and reflect within yourself. That is truly how you find your inner voice. One of the things that impacted me most about Madrid was its strong cultural values of family, food, and faith, which closely mirrored the Ghanaian culture I was raised in. They even had this dish called paella, which similarly resembles Ghanaian jollof rice, which is probably the best jollof rice you'll have in the world, which we should put in the dining halls maybe as a suggestion. This started to make me question whether I'd want to build a career in the US or head back to Ghana. With newfound time away from the stressful and demanding quarter system, I would run around Retiro Park and write in my journal every night, truly reflecting on my life and aspirations. After the months passed in Madrid, my true internal voice began to shine through. My next step was to action it. So I started building my own path. Back on campus, I switched my major from economics to political science, even though Mark Whitty still thinks I'm an econ major. I wasn't. With minors in the Business Institutions program and African Studies, to better reflect my interests. I successfully recruited for an internship in finance through a program called Sponsors for Educational Opportunities, or SEO. And to the shock of my parents, peers, and that recruiter, I turned it down to work at a search engine called Google. Again, this was 14 years ago, so people didn't know what technology was and actually where it was going at the time. So my decision was not only shocking, and it was confusing to many, because I also wasn't a computer science major, so people didn't know what I'd actually be doing there. I realized that the 4 Ps of parents, peers, professionals, and some professors were oftentimes heavily motivated by the 2 Cs of career, prestige, and compensation. While those were important metrics, I decided my career path would prioritize my 3 Cs of culture, a place where I could both learn and succeed while having my values respected and valued. Climate of the industry. I wanted something fast-paced and in the emerging markets. And community. Faith, family, and friendship networks would need to be important wherever I live, especially since everyone was so close in Evanston. I wanted to replicate that in the new city. What are your metrics right now? It might be compensation because you need to pay off student loans or you have other financial obligations. But you should always have balance. Because if you prioritize compensation at the expense of things like culture, it might diminish your confidence and your capacity to achieve your dreams later on. When I joined Visa, right out of undergrad, I was a spring chicken. But the high visibility projects, strong mentorship from colleagues, and global exposure helped me grow my wings. So when it was time to take the leap of faith and start pursuing my own company, I knew I would fly and soar. I didn't have all the answers, but I knew I'd ask the right questions to get me there by trusting my inner voice and newly developed professional confidence. The next important lesson, life is not all about work, but it is all about relationships. My time at Northwestern planted seeds of the most incredible friendships, with many here today, that have transcended time zones, people who have supported me during the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. If your time at Northwestern planted seeds of friendship, it is your job to give them the water and fertilizer that allows your friendships to blossom and grow after you graduate. So make the calls, attend the weddings and the baby showers, within reason, of course. That's the water and the fertilizer that will make your garden of friendships flourish and grow. Lastly, life is unpredictable and will throw many curveballs. If life ever throws you a glass ball, you have to drop the rubber balls you're juggling and trust they will bounce back up. For me, in early 2020, I was juggling the rubber balls of keeping my business afloat during the pandemic, navigating re-entry into Harvard Business School after a sabbatical, and at the same time, my dad had a late-stage cancer diagnosis and needed my help. I found out the news about my dad via text while on a Zoom call for my business. I was scared. I didn't know what to expect or who to turn to for advice. So after the call, I asked one of the advisors, Art Stevens, for advice. He told me that work, business school, and my personal life were rubber balls, and my dad's cancer diagnosis was a glass ball. He would need my full time and attention because any distraction or misstep could have negative imminent outcome for his life. The other priorities are rubber balls, and if I drop them, they would bounce back up. If you drop your dad's glass ball, it shatters. You have to juggle glass balls with both hands so you don't drop the ball. It was the greatest lesson in priorities I ever received. I finished business school winning the highest entrepreneurship award, and my business began to evolve and gain momentum in late 2021. Although my dad passed away, his medical care got my full time and attention, while during that time, my transition back to school and my business did not. That experience reaffirmed my faith and gave me a renewed strength. John 14:1 says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me." If life ever throws you a glass ball, please drop the rubber balls and embrace difficulty as an opportunity for expansion and growth. When I was in your seat 13 years ago, I could have never imagined I would be on this path. With Chaku Foods, I am building a business that enables smallholder farmers in Ghana and at scale in Africa to make more money by having access through markets, through the use of crop prediction and efficient aggregation and collection of their harvests. 13 years ago, some of the technology we use, like drone mapping and satellite imagery, was not widely available or didn't exist. Many of the social enterprise funds and philanthropic grants also didn't exist and are the product of the phenomenal growth of the equity markets over the past decades, and some of those shareholders wanting to give back to make the world a better place. So it would have been impossible for me to even dream of doing this work because the technology and the funding source was not accessible when I was in your seat. I am confident that Chaku will build a more equitable world for millions of small shareholder farmers because I am both persistent and patient with the time horizon. Just as I was patient as a 5-year-old girl who wanted to make her way back home to Ghana and finally have a couple decades later as an adult. You should all push the boundaries of your dreams because you're a wildcat. You're not an alley cat or a bobcat. Unless your name is like Robert or Bob or something, then you could be like a bobcat too. But wildcats should have wild dreams. And you should have the confidence that the education and the friendships you gained at this institution has made you capable of achieving those dreams. At least I know it has for me. I wish you all the happiness, peace, and love that comes from being led by your inner voice. Enjoy this weekend with family and friends and supporters. Weinberg Class of 2024, it is truly an honor to welcome you into the Northwestern alumni community. Congratulations again, and thank you all.